You know, in our digital world, there's a totally new kind of criminal out there. They aren't just stealing our identities anymore. No, they're building them from scratch. They are literally creating digital ghosts, and they're quietly fueling one of the biggest, most invisible threats in modern security. So, just how big of a problem are we talking about here? Well, it's a multi-billion-dollar problem. According to the latest figures, this new kind of fraud is draining over $35 billion from the economy every single year. A number that huge just makes you wonder, what exactly is this threat that's costing all of us so much? It's called synthetic identity fraud. And here's the absolute crucial point. The person being verified, well, they don't even exist. I mean, imagine a ghost with a perfect credit score. That's what we're talking about. Fraudsters cook up these entirely new personas by taking one piece of real verifiable data, like a stolen social security number, and then they just mix it with completely made-up details. So how was that even possible, right? How can criminals literally build a person out of thin air and actually get it to pass all our security checks? Well, the process is methodical, it's patient, and honestly, it's kind of terrifying when you see how it works. It all kicks off with a legitimate but dormant social security number. And that's why kids and the elderly are such perfect targets. Their numbers are totally valid, but they often go unmonitored for years. The fraudsters then slap on a fake name, a fake birthday, a fake address, and with today's AI, they can whip up lifelike photos and fake social media accounts to give this ghost a whole backstory. But this is where the real deception begins. They play the long game. They use this fake identity to open up small lines of credit, and they patiently build a good credit score for months, sometimes even years, before they finally cash out. And this is the key difference that makes this whole thing so incredibly dangerous. With traditional identity theft, a real person, the victim, eventually notices that something's wrong, right? They sound the alarm. But with a synthetic identity, who's going to file a complaint? The victim is a total work of fiction. This lack of a real victim is exactly why these digital ghosts can operate in the shadows for so long. And that leads us right to the core of the problem. The security systems we've all been relying on for decades are just completely unprepared for this kind of invisible threat. They were really built for a totally different era of crime. Our old defenses, it's like trying to catch a ghost with a fishing net. The threat just slips right through. See, these systems are designed to look for red flags in a person's history, but a brand new synthetic identity has no history. Not good, not bad. They verify data points like an address or an SSN, but we've just seen how easily those can be attached to a fake persona. The fundamental flaw, really, is that our systems check if the data looks authentic, not whether it's actually anchored to a real, living, breathing human being. So this leads us to the central question we absolutely have to answer. In a world where deepfakes are easy to make and data is cheap to get, how do you truly prove that the person on the other end of a digital transaction is real? To figure out how we can fight back, let's take a look at a major organization that faced this challenge head-on. We're going to turn to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, or HHS. Think about it. They manage credentials for over 80,000 employees in huge agencies like the CDC and the FDA. They ran smack into the problem of verifying identity at a massive, massive scale. This quote from Adam McBride at HHS, it just gets right to the heart of their issue. And this was a problem that got massively amplified by the pandemic. You've got this huge remote workforce spread all over the country. The old model of flying everyone to a central office for an ID check, it became a logistical and financial nightmare. We're talking thousands of dollars per employee. They needed a new way, and fast. And the results of that new way were, well, they were transformative. I mean, just look at the shift here. They went from this slow, expensive, centralized model to a totally decentralized one. The enrollment process went from a huge ordeal with appointments and travel to a self-service task that takes less than 10 minutes. For an organization of this size, that's not just an improvement, it's a complete game changer. So, what was the secret sauce? The solution really centered on this simple but powerful idea called proof of presence. The key wasn't just verifying documents. It was about finding a secure, reliable way to confirm that the person holding those documents was physically present and real, without them having to fly across the country to do it. The rollout was done in phases, but man, it scaled incredibly fast. What started as this small 3-site pilot quickly proved so effective that it was expanded to handle an urgent need for 40,000 people. And from there, it just grew into a whole network of secure kiosks at federal locations, giving their massive workforce accessible and seriously high-assurance identity verification. The benefits were crystal clear and they were immediate. Getting rid of the need for most employee travel led to monumental cost savings. It made secure enrollment accessible to their entire 80,000-person workforce, no matter where they were located, and it dramatically sped up onboarding, which meant getting critical people to work way, way faster. Okay, so the HHS story shows us a potential path forward, but this issue is so much bigger than any one agency. Every single organization that operates online needs to fundamentally rethink how it establishes trust. So, how can we all start closing this massive security gap? First off, we have to start thinking of identity as a living, breathing thing. It's not a one-and-done check when somebody signs up. It needs continuous monitoring. We have to layer our defenses, combine things like document verification with biometrics and even behavioral analysis. It's all about building a whole picture of a person. We need to fight fire with fire, using AI to spot the subtle patterns of fraud that a human would never, ever catch. And critically, organizations have got to collaborate. These fraud rings, they operate across industries, and the only way to spot them is by sharing what you know. Ultimately, it all comes down to this core idea. The foundation of digital trust must be proving with a high degree of assurance that a real human is tied to the data from the very first interaction. And then that bond has to be revalidated consistently over time. The tools to fight back are here. The real question is, are we ready to use them before these digital ghosts threaten the very foundations of our digital world?